The events of the film begin with the imprisoned John, and when the guards enter, they quickly take him away in order to announce to the people what John's sentence will be. This shows the tension on the guards, and this is due to the extreme commotion that the people are in because they want John to be executed. John quickly comes out with the guards, and Bella is left with all the people waiting to hear his sentence. The guard knows that John will be tied to wood, and all his limbs will be broken. After that, they will kill him, and the whole people will remain happy with this ruling. In order to know what brought John to all this, we must go back to the events of Laura in the 18th century in France. At that time, the country's finances, especially in the market, would still smell foul. The fish that remains for sale is a pregnant woman standing and watching her work. Suddenly, she is very tired and wants to give birth. But she does not feel this pain to anyone. She is alone and throws away the child she gave birth to, which is John. She continues her work normally as if nothing had happened. We know that John is not the first child she has given birth to, and that she has given birth to more than one once before that, but every time she would throw the child away until he died because she did not want children. But this time fate was not in her favor, and the people in the market heard John's voice crying and went to see him and worry about his mother running away, and he just grabbed her and then took the child from the ground. John's mother will be sentenced to death because of what she did to John and her children who died and are being taken care of. John lives in an orphanage, and the one whose name remains the president's name is Gallardo. They took Gallardo into his income with the rest of the children, and John remains the youngest because he is still a baby, and the children are harassing him, and they actually want to kill him, putting a pillow over his brain so that he suffocates and dies. But Joe screams because of what is being done to him, and Jared overhears and intervenes to save him from them and beats the children so that they do not repeat this mistake. 5 years have passed, and John still cannot speak, but he discovers a talent he has, which is that he can smell any scent, no matter how far away from him. And not only that, too, he was able to distinguish perfumes from each other. But the thing he did not know how to do was that he knew the names of things, and he kept distinguishing each thing and separating them from each other through his sense of humor. When John was 13 years old, Jared decided that she would sell him to anyone because she had no room left. Why should someone come? His name is Grimmel, the owner of a tannery, and he buys, but when they walk, he sees Jared's men being killed and taking the money from them. And they come and deliver John to the tannery, and he keeps a pen on the situation, and he works very well until Grimmel takes him with him to Paris to deliver a job order. So John wakes up and goes with him, and as soon as he arrives in the city, John feels he is in his normal place where he is supposed to be, and because of his sense of smell, he is able to sense everything around him and lose his way. But Grimmel calls for him to focus and walk with them on the same path they are supposed to go, and while they are stopping to hand over the skins, John feels that he wants to return to the place where the perfumes are from again. He took advantage of Grimmel's busyness and came back to the perfume shop and saw a famous perfume maker named Bassa, who was able to make a perfume that would appeal to all people who smelled it, and which would become the best-selling in Paris due to its beauty. Then John would smell a scent that he liked very much and would prefer to follow the scent to know where it was coming from until he could find it. The source of this smell is a girl who walks in the streets and sells plums in Beirut. John follows her until he stays close to her and smells her scent closely. The girl takes her mind off of him, and when she finds him, he behaves strangely. She is afraid of him and leaves and walks, but John stays behind her until he knows the place where she is sitting and enters because he stays close to her and her scent stays with him. The girl sees him, and before she screams, John hides herself so that no one can hear her until he finds the people she was close to. She walks away and removes his hand from her, but he is shocked that she died in his hands, which she did not mean. The strange thing is that, after a few moments, John remains normal or not. It's as if he did something and his only thought is how he can keep this girl's scent with him because it doesn't come out of his mind. But of course he fails because he has no experience in the field of perfumes and he has no experience in being able to keep any scent he wants. And at that time there were 12 perfume makers in Paris. The most famous of them was one named Gio, but with time there were newer perfumes that people liked. Gio did not know how to make them, and the most important perfume was that of Blasiah, who still does not know how to imitate it because he does not know how to separate the scents from each other and know the original composition of it. And one day John goes to him to deliver the leather to him. He asked for it, but he thought that Gio and John were shocked by the amount of perfume present in the place, and when he put the leather on, he knew from Gio that he wanted to leave the leather with a nice smell, so I told him that he was using a plastic perfume. Gio was surprised by John's thinking, because he was really going to do that, but no one knew, so he said John tells him that he is able to know because there is some perfume on his hand and on his body, and John does not know how to tell him the names of the ingredients that he used, but because of his strong sense of smell, he is able to find all the perfumes from which Gio can collect Blasi perfume. So Gio agreed, and he is not convinced that John he can make this perfume, and when they make the perfume, Gio is amazed by the result and remains in disbelief because the perfume actually looks like Bliss's. The next day, Gio goes to Grimm to buy John from him for a large sum, and Grimm agrees, and John goes with Gio to his house. At the same time, when Grimmel falls in and dies, John begins. He starts making perfumes for Gio, and he becomes famous again. After that, Gio sits with John, and they learn that there is a lot of perfume being collected in these small boxes, but another perfume comes that covers all the countries. John keeps thinking about the smell of the girl who died on his hand, and he remains very upset because he is unable to remember her scent. He asks Gio that he wants to learn how he can retain the scent of anything, and in order for Gio to agree, he tells him that he will make him many scents in exchange for him teaching him the secret of retaining scents. So they took him with Gio and Pure. How can he retain scents? This is through a quantity of flowers or something. Wants the scent. They put it in a machine that he made, and as time goes by, the amount of essential oil that he needs decreases, and he pours rose essential oil in front of him to see the results. The next day, John comes out and collects iron and things from the ground and a cat, and they put it in the machine to see what will happen and the smell that will be used. But when he arrives and sees what he did, he knows that things are impossible to smell as he imagines, so John's body bleeds and he falls to the ground, and Gio takes him to treat him, and the doctor knows Gio that John respects him, and Gio does not want this to happen because he is still in need, and he remembers John of the girl who died in his hands, and he is more than then. He asked Gio if he could keep it with the scent of whatever he wanted, so they told Gio that there was definitely a solution, and that solution was in a place called Grass, where all the secrets of perfumes were located. After a week, John recovered and sat with Gio and said he had 100 perfume experiences so he could use them in exchange for showing him the one who was walking in it. And when John walked in, Gio was very happy because he was finally able to have what would bring him back to being the second best perfume maker. But luck betrayed him, and the house that Gio lived in perished and died, and John remained walking, and his sense of smell indicated the right path that he was walking on. In order to reach it faster and faster, he was walking and entering a cave to rest in it for a while, but while he was sleeping, he dreamed of the same girl again. But the strange thing was that the girl in the dream did not see him in front of her, nor as if he were there, so he kept smelling on his body, but he did not find any scent of his own, so he quickly got up and stood in the rain, washing his body with water. Oh, the scents are in it so that he can smell his body but he is also unable to smell them, and he writes that his body has no smell, so John decided that he would continue the journey he had started, and while he was walking on the road, he saw a beautiful girl named Laura in her car surrounded by guards, and the first time he smelled her scent, he liked it very much. He thinks about the girl who died in his hands, and John keeps walking behind the car until he knows where she lives and makes him watch her. Then Laura goes down to change the rose that was tied, and her father calls her to come out and shows that he is very afraid for her because he has no one else. The next day, a young man will be there among the children who work on the land. His name is Lucian. He admires a girl who works with him, and it is the first time he sees her. At the same time, John continues to work in a place where he is interested in collecting and manufacturing flowers. The owner of the place sees that John is brilliant at work, but her husband sees otherwise, and John passes by and watches the flowers in the machine, and through his work in this place, he is able to discover more things that he needed to know, and at night, Lucian stays alone with the girl who works with him, so the girl runs from him and goes to a high place using the ladder. And when Lucian tries to get after her, she throws him in the ladder on the ground, so Lucian is very white. Because of her behavior, he leaves and walks, and the girl does not know how to get down from the place she is in. Asks Lucian that before he walks, he raises the stairs for her so that she can go down, but he refuses. Girl wants to see any way out, but she cannot find it. At the same time, she hears a voice and thinks that Lucian has returned to her. Then he will help him, and she will find that the ladder is back in place again, but someone is looking at it. So she looks to see who it is, and she finds that John is the one in front of her, so she starts shaking because she does not know. And then we meet John, the killer of this girl, and he puts her in the machine in which the backs are placed so that he can extract the scent of her body and keep it for the next day. She comes. The woman who sells the roses they need to the owner of the place makes John feel that she is there, so he hides the machine with a heavy cloth so that the girl he killed cannot be seen. He goes out to this woman to try to walk with her, but the woman remains curious to know what they are doing with all these flowers and how they are made, and she still wants to remove the cloth from the machine so that she can see, but John stops her and knows that what she is doing is forbidden. At the same time, Drought and his wife go down and see what is happening and take advantage of the fact that John is covering the machine in this way, so John understands that he is protecting the machine and the flowers inside it from sunlight, because that is better, even though they will not stay. They are convinced, but they do not look closely into the matter, and he leaves him and they walk away, and Johnny writes that his experiment failed and abandons the girl. Then he goes to a place where there are sex workers and asks one of them to go with him in exchange for whatever amount she asks for, and one of them actually agrees and goes with him and her dog, but she finds John is not interested in her, and all his focus is on an experiment he wants to do on her, which is that he puts a greasy substance on her body and wraps it in gauze for a certain period of time, after which she removes the gauze and collects the substance from her body with a certain knife that he has with him. The girl, as soon as she sees the scene, becomes very afraid and thinks that she will not spend the night with him and return. He has his money, so I see John that he has no choice but to kill her and perform the experiment as he wants, and he holds an iron and hits her in the brain from behind and plucks all of her hair and puts this substance on it and on her body and wraps the girl in a large gauze for a certain period, and when the time is finished, he unwraps her and wipes the substance off her body with a knife, and then this is while her dog sees what is happening and becomes very frightened. John returns to his place again and picks up the material from the hair and uses his own formula, and it succeeds. He extracts perfume from this girl's scent, and the police know about the girl's murder and go and take her from the house, thinking that whoever did that had the goal of assaulting her and staying. John is standing and watching from afar and putting on his hand the perfume he made on the girl's body and letting her dog smell it to make sure that it is really her scent. As the dog really recognizes the smell, and John is happy with his success and opens the box that contains 12 perfumes. And they read 12 scents in these 12 perfumes. And at night it will be Laura's birthday. Everyone is gathered at Antoine's house, and among the guests is an important person named D, who shows that he likes Laura and gives her a very sweet gift that impresses everyone present, and they report that she and the girls who are with him are playing hide and seek, and they doubt that they are playing. They are twin sisters, so everyone comes down to play, and John remains watched and hidden in the room, the garden they are in, and the twin girls feel something strange. They run quickly, and Laura keeps hiding from place to place until she sees John in front of her, but the world remains dark and she cannot see its place, so she becomes afraid and comes out running quickly. Before he catches her, the father is in front of her and grabs her, and John keeps watching from afar and makes a move. It's getting rainy, and he lets Laura run. At the same time, on Antoine's day, the playing stops and everyone returns to the party, so Pierre leaves everyone. And Antoine keeps calling Laura because everyone comes back except her until he finds her in front of him. Then he comes out because the twin girls have disappeared and have not returned yet, and we know that the two of them are John's victims. The blacksmith does the same thing with them as he did with the girl before them, and he decides which one to do. Then he enters the place where he is carrying out the experiments, and as soon as he smells the scent, he changes and remains calm with John after he was fanatical and leaves and walks. And the council speakers hold a meeting about the repeated incidents and the killing of girls in the same way, and from within the council, Antoine is the one who demands that he be forced to roam the city so that they can catch the criminal so that no girl can be killed again. There are people who continue to see that this decision is not correct, and he stands in front of Antoine. So they tell Antoine that one of their daughters may be the one who has the turn, so he wants to prevent everything that happens. Over the course of their meetings, John kills a very large number of girls, and each one of them has something different from the one before it, and Antoine gathers that the person who does this has a specific purpose, because he does not assault the girls he kidnaps, but he writes that he cuts their hair and throws them away, and the Pope goes to the podium and keeps his words to people. He describes John as the worst thing he can be described with, and he says that the person who does this should be killed for the rights of the girls who were killed to come back and stay. Now, John has managed to collect all 11 bottles, and the last one that smells will remain distinct from them all, as Gio told him, and a person will emerge. He confesses that he was the one who did this and is arrested, but Antoine remains in disbelief because the criminal who confessed committed crimes in a way other than the way that girls were killed. He remains afraid for Laura and does not want her to stay in the street, so she begins to tolerate Laura's way because she wants him to keep her freedom, so he uses her pen to kill her, so she runs away from him. She finds herself in a place alone, and John keeps hitting her and taking her, but then he quickly appears and takes and walks and sits with her, and he understands that he is not comfortable and is worried about her. Then John enters Laura and continues to kill her, but he overtakes Antoine, and we learn that he was dreaming and running to Laura to check on her, and the next day he takes her and stays away from her. The place is making a plan, and his men walk from one direction and he and Laura from one direction, but because of John's strong sense of smell, he is able to know the place where they went, and when he comes out, the security of the place is good, and he locks Laura with the key from the outside, and he takes the key and goes into sleep, so John easily enters the place. He tries to open the door but finds locked, so he goes to Antoine's room and takes the key without realizing it, and enters Laura, who opens her eyes and sees him. The second day, Antoine and Bella find the key next to him, so he goes to Laura but is shocked when he finds her killed in the same way as the girls who were killed, and John is still able to collect the mixture of perfumes. Whoever needs it, they put them all in one bottle. But the guards know his location and catch him, and Antoine continues to be tortured there and brought to trial, and when he comes to the time when the sentence will be carried out on him, and John keeps the mixture of scents that he made and opens the bottle in front of the guards who will take it and presents it to the executioner. What is strange is that as soon as the men smell the scent, he bends down in front of John in a strange way. After that, people stand to watch John, who will be tortured and then killed, but they are surprised that he is coming in a royal carriage and wearing very nice clothes. He appears in front of the executioner, and he is putting on some of the mixture of perfumes that he has. The executioner then bends down in front of him and tells everyone that he is a king, and John is smelling the perfume on people. He is with him and makes everyone bow before him. And Johnny keeps thinking about the girl who died in his hands by mistake, and he cries until Antoine is affected by the smell of perfume and apologizes to John. Then John goes to the place where he was born and opens his perfume and grows bigger on himself. As soon as people smell the scent, they all attack him until John disappears from the room. Being here ends our film. If you like the film, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all the news summaries.